Hey guys, it's Liz from blueandhazel.com. Welcome to my homeschool channel, and if you are new here, welcome. I'm a mom of 4 kids and we are homeschooling our oldest 3. And so I have a first grader, third grader, and fourth grader this year, and we've been homeschooling from the beginning. So this is our first year switching over from being very eclectic into more of a Charlotte Mason homeschool. And I'm using Ambleside Online for that this year, which is a free Charlotte Mason curriculum where we just buy the books and the kids are doing their narrations of those readings. This is the place where I just kind of share everything that we're learning, what's going well, what's not going well, and I'd love to have you stick around, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. I wanted to go ahead and share what it's been like for us going from oral narrations to written narrations with my 4th grader who is 10 and a half. If you're unfamiliar with what narration is, I highly recommend Karen Glass's book, No One Tell. I read that before we even started homeschooling in this method because I knew that it was going to be the staple thing that I had to figure out how to do if we were going to do Charlotte Mason in our home. And it was so helpful just on a practical level, knowing what to expect at different ages, knowing, the process of going from oral narration to written narration and beyond. And it was just so helpful. So the next thing that I wanted to mention that I learned from Karen actually is that even though it's recommended by Charlotte Mason to begin written narrations in year 4, that if you're coming in brand new with a year 4, which we were, or an older student even than year 4, then it's okay to hold off on written narrations and work up to it by practicing oral narrations. And so in the book, she stated like it's fine to go ahead and work towards that for a whole year even, just postponing the written narration part of this for even a 10-year-old until they are better at understanding how to articulate what they read orally. So I decided to do that. However, he very quickly picked up on what narration was, what oral narration was. I could tell that he was understanding what he was reading. He tends to be a pretty detailed narrator, unlike some of my other kids. And so I figured, as soon as he got the hang of this, I wanted to really try digging into some written narrations. And I knew that from Karen's book, we would start out at 1 written narration per week when we were ready to make that transition. So since we recently did, I thought I'd share how it was going and just kind of how I knew when to start. So how we started this process back at the beginning of the year when none of my kids knew what oral narration was or narration at all, I had to kind of tell them what it was. And then I also did examples of narrating their readings for them for probably the first week. I did a lot of that. So I can't remember if I did all of it or some of it, but I did a lot. I remember being like, getting these blank stares and getting these like, is this, what am I supposed to say? And so I would practice for them so they had an example of what it was. And then, in the beginning stages, it was kind of hard to know, like their brains were not used to having to remember and order things in their mind of what was important to them and then tell me in order of what happened. And so they had to get used to that. And so this is the very reason that if you have a brand new older child starting a Charlotte Mason homeschool, you would want to just do oral narrations for a while before any written narrations, just because they really need that practice in ordering their thoughts, focusing in while they're listening, and then being able to pull the information and say it out to you what is important and in the correct order to them that it's important. And so once I felt like my year 4 had a pretty good grasp on it, which honestly he had a really pretty good grasp even after the first term, which is 12 weeks for us, I just wasn't really quite ready to try something new. And so I thought, okay, we'll just keep going the way it is. And so finishing up the second term, I thought, I think he's ready. And so I asked him to go ahead and do 1 written narration. His very first one, I had no idea how it would go and was pretty nervous, honestly, that it was just going to be overwhelming. We have had some struggles in writing. It's gotten a lot better this year around age 10, but in the past it has been a fight. It has been slow moving. Handwriting in general was slow. And then just kind of this past year really just no doing of my own, it really just kicked off, and he felt like he was faster at writing, he could spell better, so he just was able to put his thoughts on paper, I think, now okay. But had I done this like before, I don't think, even a year ago, I don't think that he would have been in a situation where he felt like he could write as much. So one of the things that was really helpful for me in just being brave enough to jump in and try this was I took a class online from Karen Glass. She offers this periodically, and it was just on the Ambleside online Facebook group is how I found it. And so I took this class and paid for it online, and she went over beginning written narration, and so we could ask questions about it. She kind of went over the process of it, and that just really helped me to feel like, hey, I think my son might be ready for this, even though he hasn't been doing oral narration for 4 years like some kids who started in year 1. They just pick it up faster when they're older, and his writing seems like he can write what he wants. It's not always spelled right, which is fine, but he can now write whatever he wants to write. And so, and his oral narrations were starting to feel like really solid. Like I could tell that he was retaining the details of the book even when I wasn't reading it to him. And so I thought, he's probably ready. And she confirmed, go ahead and let him try it. She thought even after that first 12-week term that I could go ahead and let him try it. And I decided to wait a little longer and start after our first 2 terms. Okay, so really quick, one thing that Karen had us do while we were doing this online training with her, and I think it was so valuable in helping me to just see what I was putting my child through. She read a passage out loud to us, really short. And then she said, okay, I'm going to give you like 2 minutes or something really short. Go ahead and write as much as you can, a written narration on this passage. And then she said, and you need to use your other hand that you don't normally write with. And so, oh my goodness, it was so hard. And I was just writing chicken scratch. I think I got like 2 sentences, maybe 3 sentences at best down from this. So not only was I not used to, doing the narrations and remembering the names and remembering what she had just told us, but then I was trying to put it down on paper, and I was trying to write it on paper, which was difficult for me because I was using my other hand. And so while I know that it won't be as hard for my kids to maybe handwrite and form the letter A and B as it was for us in that exercise, the point is that it slows their mental process down so much to have to be thinking about what you read and wanting to tell you back what they know, but they're inhibited by their handwriting and thinking about spelling and wondering, about punctuation and also thinking what comes next and things like that. So it just gave me this compassion that, wow, this is really hard. And the mental process that's going on in there, this is like gold. So anyways, do it before you have your kids do narration. I promise it will give you compassion for them. So on the first day, I just let them know, hey, we're gonna be starting something called written narration. So I said once a week, I'm going to let you choose any one of the readings that you want to narrate. Instead of telling me with your words, you're going to write it as best you can in your narration notebook. And so I, instantly I could see like new, scared, fear, why? And so I was like, don't worry, it's fine. Like, we're going to get better at this as we go. Today, I just want to try it out and see how it goes. And so I said, first of all, spelling does not matter at all. I will not correct your spelling in your narrations. And so that's not something you need to worry about, because if kids feel like their spelling matters or that they're going to get critiqued on their spelling, they're just naturally going to not be able to write as much. They're going to be tripped up over the spelling instead of trying to put their words on paper. And so I said, literally just spell it how it sounds. If you don't know it, it's fine. This is for you to just get your thoughts on paper and practice doing that. And so I also said, because he was really wondering if this is going to take him all day, if this is going to take him an hour, because, he doesn't feel like he's fast at writing. I said, no, we're going to set a timer and you can do whatever you can do in about 15 minutes. So in general, I feel like that's a reasonable amount of time to get something on paper. It's still within the, short lessons of the Charlotte Mason method and not overwhelming. So we use these timers in our homeschool. It's super helpful, and he can set it to 15 minutes, and then he can see when the timer is at 10 minutes and 5 minutes and done. Okay, so this here is his very first narration, and I was just so dang proud of him. I know that if he were to have told me this orally, that it would have been so much longer. And so that is something that I also wanted to point out, that Karen also told me is completely normal and to be expected. That, you know, when they start orally, or when they start doing written narrations, I mean, you can expect it to be, you know, less than half of what they would ever tell you orally. You can expect so many details that they would normally tell you not to be there. And that is just because it is really hard to put your thoughts on paper quickly and in a way that makes sense. It's much easier to do it with your mouth. And so that's something that this process is going to teach them to do, and they'll get better at it as they do it more. So we'll do this once a week, and then eventually we'll do it twice a week. When he's got that down, we'll do it 3 times a week until we're at a point where we can do 1 per day. So the next one I wanted to share, just so you have an example, is his narration from George Washington's World. And I thought he just did such a great job. It's as good as I could have hoped for being his second narration, and I'm really proud of him. You can tell here, just totally cut off on the bottom. That's because the 15-minute timer ran out, I'm positive, and he was like, done. And so I want to honor that timer. I'm not going to worry about it being done or not. I think that the process that this is doing for his narration skills and for his composition skills, I think the process is going to work, and that he is in the beginning stages of that. And so, you know, he's going to be able to get longer, he's going to get more detailed, and he's going to be able to put his thoughts together better in a way that makes more sense as he gets more practice and gets older. So anyways, I hope this is helpful for you to just see in real life what it's like to go from oral narration to written narration around year 4, age 10 or so, and that it's completely fine if you need to wait on that a little bit to get the oral narration more solid, then do that. There's no problem in waiting. Like, you know, some people would come in with a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, and if that's you, you would need to spend some of their year practicing oral narration before jumping into written narration. However, just by the nature of, you know, older kids generally can write more, they can write faster, they can spell better. All of those things are going to go into what kind of a written narration that you'll see right off the bat. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, would you leave it a thumbs up for me? And be sure to put any questions that you have in the comments. I'll be happy to answer as best I can. And thanks for watching.